Hello! Welcome back to An Autistic Girl and Her God, Season 2. I'm your host, Nikki Baltusis. I can't believe we've made it to a second season of this podcast. Honestly, when I started it last year, I did not think it was going to go anywhere. I didn't realize thousands of you would listen to it and share it and have beautiful, wonderful things to say to me. Whew. Thank you. Thank you for trusting me. Thank you for showing up for season 1. And some of you I know have listened to it multiple times, and that just blows my mind. Thank you. So season 2 is different. As you can see, we have video this time. We have fancy equipment and microphones everywhere and lights. And anyways, this season is going to be different, not just because I have all of those things. It's going to be different because this season is titled Unscripted. And when I was praying into where we were going to go with season 2, I was thinking a similar direction, but not exactly like this. And then the Lord was like, no, we're going unscripted. You're not going to write out your episodes. You're not going to plan everything you're going to say. I want you to listen to me and go the direction that I'm going. So I said, okay, where's that? And he said, unscripted, unmasked. Let people see the real you. Now, when I say unmasked, let people see the real you, it doesn't mean that I all this time have been lying and I haven't shown my real self or anything like that. It's just, when you go to something fancy and you put on fancy clothes, okay? And you're putting on these fancy clothes so that you can feel like you fit into the scene that you're going to. Maybe it's a dance. Maybe it's a formal dinner. You are putting something on. It's still you, but it makes you look a little fancier. And that's essentially what masking is to me. And when I mask, I'm just giving you the polished, pretty version of me that isn't super blunt and direct and offensive and tries to make eye contact in a not awkward way. I'm not always successful at that. And I think on my first season, I was still masking because I wanted you guys to see a polished version of me who felt like she knew what she was doing. And I did because I wrote everything out. I knew what I wanted to say. It was very intentional about laying that foundation. That's why I titled it the way that I did. I wanted that to lay the groundwork so that we could continue now to build. And I wanted to kind of bring in other people's stories. And I still plan to do that, but a friend of mine was like, that's too bad because I really wanted to hear more of your stories. And that really kind of gut punched me because I was like, oh, I'm trying to hide my story. And people actually want to hear it. I didn't believe that last year. I might be emotional in this episode. I've already pulled out my fidget ring. We're not even 3 minutes into this. Whew. So here's the deal. You're going to see a part of me in this podcast. You're going to hear a part of me. For those of you who are not watching the video and you just want to listen, you are going to experience parts of me that are not hiding for autism. I'm not going to word everything the way I like. When I write, I can write everything out and it makes sense and it's pretty and it's all the things. But when I am just like this, I'm not always as polished. So you're going to see a lot of my autism in this season. And the Lord is telling me that that's okay. That you need to see the real me. And I'm going to be honest, I'm in school, I'm in college again. I'm the 40-year-old going to college, and I love it. I'm pre-med, which means my life is insane, and I have no time for anything, which is part of why I haven't gotten to this podcast in a while. And the other biggest part was that I was terrified to do this. So I need to do this podcast in a way that works with my schedule, and sitting down and writing out a whole script and then executing it and then editing it. I don't know if you all know how much work it is to edit a podcast. I just decided that for this one, I'm not going to edit it. Like right now, my contact is freaking out. I have something in my eye. And everything in me wants to be like, nope, let's cut. Let's cut and splice, start over. And I'm just not going to do that for this podcast. So if you're looking for a pretty polished podcast, that will not be this season. Feel free to listen to season 1 as many times as you'd like, because I felt pretty polished on that one. But this one, you're going to see all of me, and you're going to hear my quirks, and I'm going to break into song. And I was actually researching, I don't know if it's Gestalt or Gestalt. I don't know. Whatever it is. Don't come at me. Just know what I'm talking about. Gestalt language processing, and how autistic children and adults too. That's what I was researching, was adults. What does it look like in adults? And shocker, most of my communication is in Gestalt. All I can think is Gaston. Can we just call it Gaston language from Beauty and the Beast, because that was one of my favorite children's movies. I know there are Disney haters out there. Don't come at me. Just let me have my childhood. Just let me have it, okay? Back then, I didn't see anything spiritual. I just saw a really sweet story, and I wanted Belle's dress. Let's be honest. That's what it was about. And the songs. I love to sing. Also very common with females on the spectrum. That is my echolalia, is just singing things. So you're going to hear me quote movies, lines from, I don't know. It's going to get weird. It's going to get weird. And I just can't. I need a space. Whew. Maybe you do too. I need a space where I can just be me, where I am not hiding the things that I'm like, shouldn't have said that, or, ooh, they probably don't get that reference, and now I just look like I'm ridiculous. I want a place where I can just let that go. I need a space to unmask, and I recognize that this is a very public way to do it. I didn't plan that myself, thank you. I was planning to start slowly, and do things my own path, my own way, my own speed. And God was like, no, we're doing it now. We're doing it now. And I'm going to tell you why. So this was actually on my list. I'm actually doing quite well. I did not make a script. I made sticky notes. I have 2 sticky notes, exactly 2 sticky notes of topics. So I'm going to try this season is topics. Like each season, there's things that are on my heart, and it's going to be very conversational. I'm probably going to hit the microphone 1,000 times because I am very handsy. Like, I have to speak with my hands. This is part of how I communicate. Although the way you can't really see my arms, so I feel like, where you go behind someone and you're like their arms, I feel like that's what my arms look like right now. Oh man, I'm going to pick myself apart. I can feel it. No, I'm not. I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop because this is where I get to be just me. Oh, okay. So part of why I feel so strongly that I need to do this process here is I recently had the opportunity to speak at a conference, and I'm going to tell you about that in a minute. It was the Disability in the Church conference that Key Ministry puts on, and if you don't know them, if you haven't experienced them, what good people, what beautiful hearts for the disabled, for the marginalized. I'll process that with you in just a minute. But for right now, I want to talk about a very pivotal moment for me in my unmasking journey that happened at that conference. So I did my speech, and I felt really good about it. It was very polished. I practiced it more than I have ever practiced anything in my life. It was a 10-minute speech. And I mean, I went all out in my practicing for this speech that I even used, PowerPoint Presenter. And I bought a clicker, and I practiced with the clicker until I realized I was going to have to hold a microphone. I didn't realize that part. I wasn't thinking about that part. So I need a hand to talk with. I can't have something in both hands. So I let go of the clicker, which was actually a good move. But I used I took this job very seriously, and my topic was how the church pew isn't always accessible. And I'm going to get into that in a little bit here. But right now, after my speech, I spoke to a woman who I had been talking with, and she had come to listen to my speech, and she was like, "Oh, you did such a great job. I really enjoyed it." And she's like, "I got to tell you though, there was someone sitting next to me, and they kind of leaned over when you started, and they're like, 'Wait, she has a disability?'" And the lady was incredible. She advocated for me and was like, "Yeah, you can't see every disability. There's a reason they're invisible." Um, and there was this moment, there's this thing inside of me that just shattered. And I haven't really been able to put this into words. I'm going to try. I think why that was so difficult for me to hear is, had I heard that in the past, I would have been proud of that. Like, yes, I hit it. I hit it again. Nobody can see it. I'm doing good. And I did start to have that thought of, okay, you did your job. You showed up the way you're supposed to. And then all of a sudden I was like, but wait, I'm at a disability conference and I have a disability, but nobody can see it. And I work hard to make sure that nobody can see it. So while I was sort of happy that I did my job well, I was actually really broken about the fact that I did my job well. That how am I supposed to model for you guys and for the women in my Christian neurodivergent women group on Facebook? How am I supposed to model what it looks like to be an autistic woman authentically if I'm too busy covering up all the things that make me autistic? Jesus, I can see where we're going with this season. You know what? Let's just go right to him because I need him. Jesus, thank you. Thank you, Jesus, that you see everything. That you have eyes everywhere, and you know every tear that we've ever cried. You know every pain, every injustice, every unkind thing that has been said to us because of our disability or otherwise. You were there. You saw it. You know what it's like to be marginalized. God, that this season, I dedicate this to you, Jesus. It was your idea. You brought me here to cry in front of all these people. This was your idea. And I surrender, God. And I say, have your way. I pray that in this season, there would be freedom, not just for me, but for every single person that listens. That we will become a people so in tune with your heart that we don't care if it makes us look quirky or we've got to use fidgets to keep our bodies moving. You made us. You made us and you delight in us. And I'm tired of the world getting to say that we don't matter, that you made a mistake. You didn't make a mistake. You knit us together in our mother's wombs. You are pleased with us. And I pray that through this season, God, that the masks would come down, the people would be who they are, and we would no longer apologize for being who you made us to be. I'm so thankful for you, God. So thankful for this podcast, even if it's terrifying and I don't want to do it most of the time. I really am so thankful because it has brought me some incredible people. And I just ask you, God, to lead and guide me, show me where to go, show me what everyone needs to hear, and let me go first. Let me be willing to take off the mask first so that others can feel free to be who they are. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, you've got me a mess now. My chair is really squeaky, and you're probably going to hear a lot of cars. Maybe you're hearing sirens right now. I don't know. Jesus be with whoever is in need of help right now. Amen. You're going to hear realness, and I'm not editing any of it out. So, I just don't have time. I'm going to be honest. I just don't have time. I'm trying to get used to my video camera here. I'm confused. I've definitely been on here more than 2 minutes. I don't know what it's doing. Maybe it started a new video. I couldn't tell you. I hope it got all that. I wasn't paying attention. I was praying. But if not, whatever. Okay. So on my agenda here, that actually was on my agenda to tell you about this new season. This season, I'm not gonna do the tea thing. Excuse me. I am just gonna drink whatever's here. Might be tea. It might be, in this case, watered down iced coffee with a fun straw from my daughter's birthday. Because if you can't have fun with your coffee, what can you have fun with? Okay. Moving right along. So this is not a 3-hour session. I don't want it to be that long. I know many of you like the long form content. You see me going like this. Okay, so that's the Ehlers-Danlos. I have hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos, so my body gets really tired. And I haven't been doing my physical therapy this week. Don't tell my physical therapist. And so I'm a little weak this week. So I might slide down behind my microphone here a little. I'll try to remember not to do that. One thing I wanted to tell you about, I talked to you guys in the last season about my devotional, my little mini devotional for Christian neurodivergent women. And at the time, that was just an ebook that I was selling through my own website. And since then, I have the conference to thank for that, because they were so gracious to us and allowed us to bring our books to their bookstore. And that was such an incredible experience in and of itself. So I had the little, poker to get my book formatted for print. Never thought I would see the day. Always hoped I would. So happy that this was the first book that I got to write and publish, self-publish. So my little devotional for Christian neurodivergent women is now on Amazon with the Kindle version. I reformatted it for Kindle, but I did not change any of the content. I may have I flipped some pages around, like the intro pages. Some I put to the back, and then I also kind of updated some of the information in my bio. So that's really the only changes. Those are the changes that I made. So don't feel like, if you've already purchased it, don't feel like you need to run right out and buy another e-copy or like a Kindle copy, because it might be different. It's not that different. Now, if you want to buy the printed version, that's really fun. And please, if you do get that, I appreciate that. Thank you. And please tag me in it so that I can see, because it just brings me so much joy to see people reading it. And I would love to hear your ahas and the things that spoke to you. I really prayed through writing that devotional. I wanted it to be coded for the neurodivergent woman, but it really could be read by anyone. You don't have to be neurodivergent to enjoy it. It is geared towards women, but I made sure to incorporate I think almost every season of a woman's life. So I know I have listeners and followers that are married with children. I have some that are married but no children. Some don't want children. Some can't have children. I have people who are divorced and struggling in a single season. Others in a single season, and so there's a whole gamut of you. And I want to make sure that when I write these, that it's not to single anybody out in any particular season. And I also share stories from my own life in my own season, and that's really the best that I can do. So I hope that you are blessed by that. I will make sure that I put these resources in the caption, just like always. The Christian Neurodivergent Women's group on Facebook, I will put that link in here again, or you can go back to the first season and find it as well, but I'll put it in the caption. I'm excited because that group, since season 1, has grown to 22.4 thousand women. Wow. So if you ever thought that you were alone, well, that's a lie, because there's literally 22.4 thousand women asking the same questions as you in a Christian Facebook group. And I'm very proud of that. very proud of the culture that we have created there. That I have a phenomenal moderator team. We actually just added a few more ladies to that because we grew so fast that the few of us just couldn't handle it anymore. We needed help. So I'm so grateful to them, and shout out to them for all of their hard work. That group is exploding. I mean, Facebook has now been recommending it. It's in like the suggested groups. And so we're growing by probably the 100 a day, if not more. So please don't ever feel like you're alone, because there are so many of us out there. And that's a really, really beautiful community that we've created. So I'll put those links in there. And, I just wanted to quickly go over the conference, the Disability in the Church conference, because I feel like, first of all, I feel like you all need to know about that. Whether you're neurodivergent or you're neurotypical, just trying to learn about neurodivergence, that would be a phenomenal resource for you as well. So they also focus on mental health. Key Ministry does. So there's mental health and disability in the church, and they have great resources. I just love them. I'm so honored that they allowed me to speak. I don't think I shared with you all how that happened. I had no intention of becoming a speaker this year. Enough on my plate. And towards the end of last year, I happened to have it click Instagram. I wasn't even trying to go on Instagram. I habit clicked it. Like I opened my phone and was like, oops, and I accidentally clicked on it. And it popped up looking for speakers for this Disability in the Church conference. And I was like, Disability in the Church, that's really cool. But I was like, oh, that's nice, and I went to move on. And the Lord very clearly in my spirit said, screenshot that. And I was like, okay, I'm not really sure why, but sure, maybe I'll go research it later. So I screenshotted it, and I had every intention to go back to whatever it was that I was going to do. And the Lord said, you're going to go now. You're going to go look at it now. It's like, man, you're being really direct with me today. Okay. So I looked it up, and before I knew it, I had filled out the whole speaker packet and put in some ideas of things that I could talk about, and was absolutely shocked when I got the email that they wanted me to come and do this like 10-minute TED Talk type speech on how the church pew isn't always accessible. And I made sure in that speech to really address not just neurodivergence, but also chronic, and I don't like to use the word chronic illness because I feel like it has a stigma attached to it. So I haven't really been using that. I know that that community is still using that, but I've kind of moved more towards complex medical conditions or complex medical issues, because my issues have a root. Not that other chronic illnesses don't, but I know what my roots of my illnesses and my medical issues are, and they're very complex, and it's not as simple as, take a pill or do this or and I'd like to get into that. Maybe one of these episodes I will dive deeper. I did cover a lot of the comorbidities in season 1, so if you are neurodivergent, I highly recommend listening to the comorbidities episode, because there are some things that are genetically linked to our people, as I refer to us. So it's very important to know what our people deal with. I'll write that down, because if I don't, I'm gonna forget. I will also put in, I think I put it in season 1, the all the things document. The all the things documents from my specialists, and they're so knowledgeable on it. They put together this document called All the Things, and it just lists out all the things that neurodivergent people typically have or struggle with medically. And there are threads, and I'm going to warn you, once you start pulling on threads, don't blame me if your whole life starts to make some sense, okay? And then you've got the whole trying to get the diagnosis, and if you feel you need it, and that it's a whole rabbit hole. But if you have complex medical conditions, and let's say you've been diagnosed with fibromyalgia, and I would just go look at some of those other comorbidities, because I truly believe that we are often misdiagnosed with things like fibromyalgia because they haven't found the actual root. And that's not to minimize people's pain, because I live in pain 24/7. It's a rare day when I'm not in pain. That was not me farting. Oops, that was my chair. Okay, so let's just establish that. And I just said fart. On my podcast, I said I wasn't going to use any potty words. I've already blown that out of the water on the first episode. I do have small children. Maybe you can forgive me. If not, that's okay. It'll probably happen again. Okay, moving right along. So, all the things, complex medical conditions. Yes, see, there we go. I came back. So I made sure to discuss autistic adults, autistic and neurodivergent adults, those with complex medical conditions, and autism parents. Those are the three kind of big people groups that are missing from our church, from church in general, the big church, big C church. And I represent all three of those groups. So my speech was really about that. And I do have that on my Facebook. I'm trying to think where else I put it. It's on my Facebook, and I will link my speech in the caption. You can watch it on Key Ministries YouTube. It's about 11 minutes with the intro. If you don't want to watch the intro, it's just my bio. You can skip the first part, but anyways, it's about 10 minutes, my speech is. And I'll link that in here as well. So I'm trying to remember. Okay. And I'll link Key Ministry and the Disability and the Church also. Because the next conference will be in Houston next year. In March, I believe they said. So the conference itself was phenomenal. I have to say, excuse me, that I thought going to that conference that it was going to be more neurodivergent people. I thought there would be more neurodivergent people at the conference. And maybe they were there. I just didn't see them because, it's invisible. But the people that I was interacting with and connecting with, why am I still holding a pen? They were mostly neurotypical people from churches wanting to start disability ministries, which is incredible. I was so happy, and I'll tell you that even though there didn't seem to be a lot of neurodivergent people, and most were what I perceived to be neurotypical. No, I don't know everything, so I'm not trying to be like, I know everything. It's not what I'm saying. These people, I felt the most welcomed and seen and celebrated and supported in an environment than maybe I have ever felt. It was the most normal thing to be walking down the hall, and there were people in wheelchairs, there were people with canes, there were people with no legs walking. Like there were people that were blind and deaf, and I never know if I'm using the right words, so please forgive me if what I'm using is not right. That's why I go to the Disability in the Church conference, okay? Because I'm trying to hear from other people. So, anyways, all visible disabilities represented, and it was the most normal thing. And at the end of the conference, we were sitting there, and they were leading worship, and it was this really simple worship team. I think it was like 2 people, and it was beautiful. It was just so beautiful and not overstimulating to me at all. The amount of people and the small chairs and those kinds of things, yes, but beggars can't be choosers, whatever. No, that's not nice. I shouldn't say that. There were hard things, but being in that room with all people with visible disabilities, people with invisible disabilities, neurotypical, neurodivergent, the whole room. That was the first time that I felt like the whole church was finally represented. Like I was in the room with the whole church, not just neurotypical people, not just, whatever. Everybody was there. Everybody was present and accounted for. And when they were all singing together, it was like a taste of heaven. And that was one of the sweetest parts for me. And it was really hard to leave. I'm not going to lie. I cried really hard on the last session for many reasons. But one of the biggest ones being this is how it's supposed to be. We are often marginalized and not allowed, or not things, it's not accessible. It's not, there's so many reasons that not everyone is represented in the church, but it's missing and desperately needed. And I want, now that I felt that, I can't go back because it's not the same. So that was really eye opening. I did a lot of educating in the circles and small groups and lunches and those kinds of things, more than I thought I would be doing. I assumed that there would be more of me, and so I was asked a lot of questions, and because I was able to share from a first person perspective, and that um, I had some really great conversations. Let's just leave it at that. And I was honored to be in a room where people wanted to learn. I didn't know what to do with myself. I used the term that you guys that use this, you're gonna laugh. You're just gonna laugh. I said something to someone, and I said, it was a woman, I think, and I said, yeah, it's just like we're a whole big narrow spicy family, or something like that. And she laughed, and she said, narrow spicy. I love that, and I was like, oh yeah. I sort of kind of forgot that there are people that don't speak our language and have never heard our terms. So I giggled. I thought that was really sweet, and it was an honor to be there. I was so grateful. Um, I was shocked at how many people purchased my book. Thank you for that. I did not anticipate that because it's this little teeny tiny book. Okay, I didn't think about it's 30 days. 30 days is not going to make a big book. So I was a little surprised, but it's my little coffee table book. And I'm actually really proud of that. I love it. And so it was really fun to watch that sort of the pile dwindle, and um, it was awesome. And so that's kind of the overview. I would love to, my plan is to kind of unpack that conference as soon as I can in the Christian Neurodivergent Women group, so that teaching can live in there. The things that I learned for creating disability ministry. My hope is to start doing some educating of my own here soon-ish. Like I said, I am in school, so my timeline is not always accurate. My executive dysfunction kicks in, and I think I can do everything until I'm laying in a pile somewhere crying because I can't do everything. So I'm trying to be realistic. But I'm not going to probably do a podcast episode about all the things that I learned. I will likely do that in chunks in that group. So incredible teachings, incredible information. The crazy cool thing was many of us were saying the same thing and using the same verses. And like there was just this common theme throughout the whole conference. And it was amazing. So I will look for tidbits of that to share with you. A couple of people that I met at that conference that I'm still processing how incredible those interactions were. Um, the first one is you guys know her as Raising Autistic Disciples, Lara Roberts, and she is sweet as a peach. I'm telling you right now with her southern accent. She was so kind to me. And if you're in the Christian Neurodivergent Women group, I asked her if she would do a little video encouraging you all. So if you haven't seen it, that is in the group. I put it in the featured section. And she is as lovely of a human as you can imagine. I will link her profile in the caption as well. She is great at, to my knowledge, I haven't heard her identify as being neurodivergent, but she does have an autistic child. And she educates about how autistic children can be disciples of Jesus too, and that you got to get creative. And she talks about life as a special needs and autism mom, and she does it from a neuro affirming way. So I have found her to be very safe, and so that's why I was so excited when I found out she was going to be at the conference. I was kind of like fangirling for a second, Yeah, she's just wonderful. So got to meet her, and then let me take a drink before this one. Oh, I'm thirsty. I should be drinking water. Don't come back. I know what I'm supposed to be doing. The other person, before I wrap all this up, that I got to meet, you may know him as the Autistic Pastor, Pastor Lamar Hardwick. I don't, as you can see, I'm speechless. Um, I don't, I don't even know how to put into words what our exchange meant to me. I tried on Facebook last night, and it just didn't. There's no way to convey all of what I was experiencing and feeling when we were talking. Um, it felt so much to me like a passing of a baton in a way. Um, I didn't ask for him to sign my book, which I've been keeping. I've literally had it in my backpack since, like, it's all messed up. Sorry, Pastor Lamar. Since the conference, I haven't finished reading it, but that's actually how I started our conversation. It was super awkward, but that's my life. So I went up to him and I was like, okay, listen, I'm gonna be honest. I bought your book like 2 years ago, and I still haven't read it. Um, that's a terrible thing to say to someone. By the way, why did I do that? I was trying to be honest because that's what I do. But I said I started reading it before the conference, which is kind of funny because it's like cramming before an exam, right? Like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna meet him. I better read his whole book. I didn't have time to read his whole book. Who did I think I was? But I got through like some of it, and I was like, all the things all the questions that I've had, the struggles that I have had in ministry, in the church, and trying to be a neurospicy human in a neurotypical world, especially in the church, all the struggles that I was experiencing, had I just picked up the man's book, I I I I would have felt some solidarity. I'm not even that far into it, and I just cried. I already highlighted so much of it. This is his disability in the church book, A Vision for Diversity and Inclusion. Um, I am talking specifically about him and bringing up his book because I found out last night that Pastor Lamar he's been moved to hospice. Um, he has inoperable, incurable cancer, and he talked a lot about that at the conference. That was one of the things we had talked about, and um, he uh, he's not doing so good, and it looks like he's preparing to meet Jesus. Um, so please pray for his family, pray for his wife and his boys. My heart is just so sad. So sad for us, so sad for his family, so sad for everyone that loved him, his church family. Um, and happy for him and a little jealous because he gets to go be with Jesus. He has worked through a lot and advocated through a lot. He is one of the original trailblazers for us as neurodivergent people, and he's taken a lot of heat for his advocacy. Um, and yeah, I was praying about whether or not to go into our conversation together, but I'm not ready. So I will save that for another time. But just pray for his family and go buy his books. Go buy his books. Support his family. Start with this one if you want, or go look at his list. I'll link um, his Amazon search for his books, and go buy his books and support his family during this really difficult time. I'm writing this down to put in the caption. I think I wish that everyone could have met him. I wish that you could have sat with him, and as an autistic person, it's really hard for me to make eye contact. I can't even look at my own self in the thing because it feels like I'm looking at you. It when I try to make eye contact, it's really hard for me because I feel like I can feel everything inside the person. And that is hard. Like, that's a lot to process, And he was a deep well. As far as I know, he's still here. A deep, deep well. His eyes were a deep, deep well, and he had very kind eyes. And I just hope, that on some level, I could be at least even half of the advocate that he has been for neurodivergent people. I really respect and admire him, and I'm processing all of this sadness because it's hard. I'll get into it another time, but of course they just started mowing the lawn here, so I should probably wrap this up. I don't know what this will look like going forward. I don't know if it's going to be a weekly thing or a bi-weekly thing, or I really can't promise you anything. But what I can tell you is that I'm not going to disappear on you for a long time. It will either be weekly or bi-weekly. That is for sure. This morning, I had no intention of doing this podcast today, by the way. But this morning I woke up, I was thinking about Pastor Lamar and thinking about how if I really want to be the advocate that I say that I do, then I need to use my voice and get back in the ring. And that was part of his advice to me too. Not necessarily exactly that, but something similar. And not be afraid to use my voice. And so I woke up this morning and I was like, there's never going to be a good time. And actually, I was doing my morning scrolling on TikTok, and there was a video that showed up. And you ever feel like something is just right for you? Like, the guy is sitting there, and he didn't make it for me, but it felt like he wrote that specifically to me to get my booty moving. And it was all about, stop. You've consumed enough. Now it's time to create. Now it's time to use your voice. Now it's time to do the things that God has put in your heart. And there will never be a perfect time. There will never be a right time. You just have to do it afraid. And he actually said you have to schedule fear. Put it on the calendar so that you can freak out about it, but at least you know it's there and it's coming. And then you use the fear to propel you forward. And I'm not afraid of what people will say or I'm not afraid of any of that. I think what I've been really afraid of is this very raw, unmasked place, and wondering how people are going to feel about the unpolished version of me and the unpolished podcast. I could rename it that, the unpolished podcast. But I won't. So I feel better now that at least I got this first one out of the way, and we're going to just let it morph into what it's going to be, because that's what we're here to do. Just be real together. Like, we're having coffee, having a chat. I mean, I'm having coffee. I don't know what you're doing, but I'm having coffee. And yeah, so it's a lot different than season 1. I warned you in the finale of season 1 podcast. I warned you that this season was going to be different. And I'm actually really excited about it now that I've gotten through this first one. Thanks for getting through it with me. I'm not going to promise it'll be more polished next time, but I will show up, and I will bring all of me, and I will bring topics that God has put on my heart. I can promise you that, because I believe that the topics that he puts on my heart are the things that you will want and need to hear. So I'm going to trust him with that. I'm going to trust him to show me where to go, and that it will be what you need. And when I bring on some guests, I have some ideas that I'm going to hopefully be able to do this season as well. Okay. I think that is what I wanted to cover today. I just wanted to kind of update. It's been a while since season 1, so this is where we're at. This is where we're going. We're going to cry a lot. I hope you have tissues. Maybe you're not a crier. That's okay too. Jump up and down. I don't know. Whatever you need to do to process your emotions, just do that. And thank you for being here. Thank you for listening or watching, if you're watching the video. I think God is about to do something really cool this year, and I'm so grateful that I get to be part of it. Thanks for being here. I will see you and speak to you in the next